Welcome everybody. This is an introduction and overview to the Community Drumming Facilitation course, CDF course. So if you're a patron and you're at the classes and courses level or tier, or the private lessons tier, all of this content is available to you. So welcome. Thanks for being a patron. Thanks for being a student. In this video, I'm going to be talking about, briefly, some of the types of community drumming, because there are, according to this program, at least 8 different types. And as we go through the course, we'll be looking at what makes each one of those types unique, different from the other types, and also in many cases similar to the other types. We'll be looking at, what makes a certain type a type, of course, all the criteria, and as well as historical context and cultural context. But we'll also look at and very importantly, we're going to look at what skills are required or recommended, and that applies to both music skills and facilitative skills, which is more like the people side of the equation. So we've got music that you will make as a facilitator, that you will provide, and then we have music that will be created as a result of whatever you do in consort with your participants in some cases. And then we also have the facilitative skills, which are the non-musical things. They're the things you say, maybe your body language, gestures, suggestions, imparting knowledge, all that stuff on the facilitative side. And right away, if you haven't already, and we'll go through these as we go through the course, but I highly recommend that you go and watch, and these are all on Patreon already, go and watch the series that is about the facilitator quality matrix archetypes or characteristics or qualities that I have identified. And there's 8 of those, and they are basically things like teacher, student. They all have 2 sides, teacher, student, friend, guardian, observer, storyteller, all sorts of different kind of archetypal, qualities that kind of culminate in the persona of a facilitator or the role of a facilitator. I recommend you watch those, but it's not a requirement, but I highly recommend it. You can go find those. I believe they're just on the regular YouTube channel as well, and they should be here on Patreon. If they're not, I'll make sure I create, I might just put links to those down in the description below this video. All right, so that's what we're going to cover. I'm going to go over briefly all the different types of community drumming. Not that that list is exhaustive, but these are the main types and the main kind of categories that I use and that are used out there in kind of the general landscape of community drumming. All right, so what are the 8 different types of community drumming? Well, of course, probably the most ubiquitous, widespread, classic, historical type of community drumming would be a drumming ensemble. And a drumming ensemble it can be professional, it can be recreational, it can be casual, it can be children and adults. The idea with a drumming ensemble, though, however, is that the goal is to learn, to practice, and to achieve something about the music that usually, not always, but often has historical ties or a genre. It's in a certain genre, so therefore there's a history. And when you go to create an ensemble, you're drawing upon traditions, history, past works, and that can include the instrument choices. So you might be using a specific set of instruments that belong to that genre, or if it's a cultural or regional style, in that region, or from a certain time period, all sorts of criteria that could go into a drumming ensemble. Not that a drumming ensemble has to be exclusively historical. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying often it is, such as taiko drumming or West African drumming that is in the Malinke heritage, like djembe and dundun drumming. All sorts of different kinds of drumming. And that's really the big picture. You're recreating or developing from a foundation that has a lineage. There's often like a master drummer or teacher. Often you have a leader in the ensemble who's presumably, the most knowledgeable person. That person would guide everyone else, including teaching them, rehearsing, and it might culminate in some performances. Ensembles can be, like I said, recreational, but often they're moving in the performance direction, whether that's for money or for fun, or just for family and friends. So that's kind of the drumming ensemble model. What do participants do in the model? You have to ask to get in. You might have to audition. It's a group. It's focused. There are rules. There's culture there. So you might start off and you have your place in the ensemble, and you learn easy things, or and you develop and you practice and you take on more responsibility. You kind of work your way up, and your knowledge and skills broaden and deepen over time, and you develop and grow together. And there's lots of examples of drumming ensembles all around, both professionally and just casually, and in schools and all sorts of different situations. And ensembles are wonderful because they're achievement-based. They have often strong bonds that get formed within ensembles. There is that performance element, so there could be some sort of feedback from the community. Ensembles can be hired to perform certain functions, to provide music for certain things. Of course, for dance, it's very common, or for ceremonies and other things. So there's lots of opportunities there to not only facilitate, but to help celebrate and connect and just build community within the category of drumming ensemble. All right, let's go on to another one. And when we do the course, we'll dig into these a little bit more, but I want to cover these 8. And I can talk and talk, so I want to move on. So another category of drumming that's related to drumming ensemble, it's kind of somewhere between a drumming ensemble and a drum circle, is called guided interactive drumming. And there are lots of examples of this now out there. You can look at things like Drum Cafe or Sewa Beats, for example. And a guided interactive drumming experience is usually a led, kind of top-down led experience where the audience or participants do get drums or percussion instruments. It could be done with body percussion and voices, but let's just say they have drums. So everybody gets a drum, and then there's often a drum ensemble on stage in front of them, and it's usually in a theater type setting. So you have an ensemble, a leader group, maybe one person that's taking more of a leadership role and some people taking a supportive role. They provide most of the musical content and then guide the participants in interactive exchanges, usually call and response. They might learn, a little rhythm, or they might learn a response to a cue, et cetera, et cetera. It's all fairly, what I would say, from the participants' perspective, it's very basic, easy, which it should be, because presumably these are done for people who don't play drums. So very basic techniques, low, high, bass and open tone sounds, very basic rhythms that are led or dictated by the leaders, but then integrated into the drum ensemble so that the result is something very exciting, often very unifying, very punctuated, and fun and powerful for the participants. So I don't know, I can't think off the top of my head if there's any other non-musical models that are like that. I guess it would be a little bit like if you go to a church or synagogue or a religious ceremony and you sing along with the choir, you're all out there and there's a choir and you sort of sing along with them. And then it creates that feeling of ensemble and unity. Now, guided interactive drumming can be done, it doesn't have to be done in a big theater and a corporate thing. It can be done at a school. It can be done with children. In fact, I have friends that run a group drumming business, and they specialize in birthday parties for 4-year-olds. And what they do is very much guided interactive drumming. It's very measured. People's participation is it's the same every time. It's like a menu. So in that regard, I'd say it's more like a drum ride, right? You're taking them on a ride. They're not controlling the car so much, but they're enjoying it. They're enjoying the ride. All right, so that's guided interactive drumming. Another category that you'll hear about and that I've done a lot of and other people have referred to is drumming games. And drumming games are any type of experience where the drumming is dictated by what we call play rules. And I'll give you a really simple example. So let's say you have a circle, people with drums, and you say, okay, let's all hit, one hit on our drum, and let's go to the left and just play as soon as you can after the person to your right plays. So I call that drum andale, meaning andale means fast. Something like that. Now there's a couple rules there. One is that you don't play until the person to your right plays. The other rule is play as quickly as you can. And let's send it around the circle. Very simple. I don't even know if I'd call that a game as much as it just an effect. But suffice to say, games have rules, or what we call givens. And I'll give you another example. Pieces of Eight, which is a game that I published in my book Together in Rhythm and the Amazing Gymnasium. Pieces of Eight is everybody have an instrument, choose any instrument you want. I'm going to count through 1 to 8, and then you're going to choose one number, one of those, any number, and you just play one sound right on that number. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. I picked number 4. So that's another, you could say, is a drumming game or rhythm game. They have rules. So the people can choose how they want to participate within the rules, but that's how games are played. And if you think about the word game, pretty much every game I can think of has, structure. It's got a certain, maybe a board, like board games, or a court, like a tennis court or soccer field. It's got things you use to play the game, like chess pieces or checkers or a ball. And then it's got rules. How do you play the game? And then once and then you can play the game within the rules. So drumming games are kind of like that. They can be accessible, fun. They can be great for children, older adults, everybody. Who doesn't like to play a game? They might not be the most musical, but that's not the goal. The goal is really to play the game, have fun. I think of drumming games or music games as what I call pre-musical experiences. They might teach us certain skills or focus on certain things that we're going to use later in a more drumming intensive experience. They might be post-musical, as in like, oh, we've got 5 minutes. Let's just have some fun, play a little game, and we're not going to worry about playing anything specific. We're just going to play this fun game. Or they might be extra musical, as in we're just going to have fun and we're not looking at maybe using it as a pre-musical or post-musical experience. It's just going to be just for fun. It's separate from music making. All right, but games are awesome, and there's some tricks and skills that you're going to need to be able to effectively facilitate them. So we're going to get to that when we get to it. Very common, this is another style, another genre or category, is called the drum-along. And again, simply put, a drum along is playing along to, often, it's a song. Could be another piece of music, could be a recording, could be a classical music. But the idea is that everybody gets something. I like to give people maracas or shakers if we're going to do a drum along, because if everybody has drums and they're all playing and there's a song, sometimes it's hard to hear the song over the drums. So, like I said, we'll get to that stuff when we get to it. How do you structure, how do you choose songs? How do you structure them? How do you facilitate a drum along? But basically, it's just playing along with a song. And there are facilitators out there that use that model as kind of the primary model of what they do with groups, which is to sing songs and play along. Now, there's opportunities there to keep a beat, to accentuate parts of the song. The song provides structure. It provides familiarity. It provides something else, which is usually a melody or a story and words. Lots of opportunities there. But the drumming along part, pretty simple. Again, kind of like guided interactive drumming. Participants are playing along. Usually there is a de-emphasis on the actual drumming and more of an emphasis on just playing along to the song. All right, so that's drum along. usually to a song. Works great with kids and older adults. They love it. All right. Let's get into another classic genre, which is the drum circle. Drum circles, the word drum circle is an American term. It started in the United States. Drum circle refers to a improvised, usually open community-based drumming happening, an occurrence where people can join in, they can play however they want. It's a community, it's really community focused. I mean, the focus of a drum circle is really to build a sense of community and welcoming and belonging. Usually no rules as far as how to play, what to play, just kind of like, just get along, blend in, join the party, join the group. Drum circles usually, now classically, do not have any leader. They might have a host, they might have a core group of people that kind of show up every week and help support or gently guide. Classically, traditionally, drum circles are very casual, community-based drumming experiences where people can just walk up and play along. People like to dance, people play other instruments. Very open. These came out of what a lot of people call the hippie movement. I think it's just a community music movement. I remember when I was growing up in Oakland, we used to go to Berkeley and look at the drummers at Sprout Plaza in the UC Berkeley campus, or we'd go over and look at the drummers in Golden Gate Park. Now I'm in LA. There's drum circles at Griffith Park. There's the Venice Beach drum circle. There's Santa Barbara drum circle. There's a lot of drum circles around. Sometimes they are hosted in people's homes, but basically a drum circle is show up, join in, play. That's it. Have a good time. And it's improvised, right? No plan. Somebody just starts a rhythm. People join in, kind of, they'll join. And eventually that'll kind of fall apart, or there'll be branching off in different directions. Just kind of organically tumbles forward. All right. Another genre is what I call drum play. And drum play is the use of drums and percussion instruments as play objects. And so this is really probably the least music-based of them all, although it can relate to the other categories. I do use drum play activities quite often. One reason is because it prompts a lot of creativity. We're basically using the instruments as props. So we might use them as for their appearance or physical properties, like, a drum could be a little hat or a tray or a steering wheel. Shakers like this could be something else, like, I don't know, a bird's nest or something, or a little cup. And we can tell stories. We can both use the sounds if we want, or we don't have to. It's just opportunities to be creative and literally play with the instruments without playing the instruments, if that makes sense. All right, so that's drum play. You guys get that, pretty simple. All right, another category, and this is where I split the drum circle category kind of into two big branches, because one is just like the pure drum circle, traditional. Now, you all know, if you've been paying attention for the last 25 years, that there is this thing called drum circle facilitation, and that is what I would call a structured drum circle or a guided drum circle. Not to be confused with guided interactive drumming, although they are kind of like cousins right there. Because in a structured drum circle, there is a facilitator, and the job of that facilitator, it's the same goal. It's for people to play, have fun, but there's a little more guidance, information, rules maybe, like conducting, starting and stopping, raising and lowering the volumes. That's often done either through music, but often through conducting, or verbalization, vocalizing certain or giving information verbally, but also through body language, like, conducting cues, like rumble and stop. You guys have seen lots of people do that. I have a whole book called Together in Rhythm with a DVD, shows all that stuff. There's really a time and a place for that, and I've certainly done a lot of those kind of structured or conducted drum circles. So we're going to look at that too, because that is a unique skill set. It draws on a few of the other skill sets from all the way from traditional drumming to guided interactive drumming. And also you have to have the mindset and understanding of what is a drum circle, what's the goal of a drum circle. All right, so that would be a structured drum circle or conducted drum circle. Now, the last category is, I wouldn't say it's a discrete category that's commonly referred to. I think it relates to drum ensemble, but I do want to separate it a little bit because of the facilitative side, not so much because of the music side. And this category I'm just calling ceremonial drumming. Ceremonial drumming. As a drummer and facilitator, I will sometimes get asked to create and facilitate a drumming for ceremony. And that is a little bit different than the other categories. You may or may not have drummers there. You may or may not have people who played before. But what makes ceremonial drumming unique is that it's for a purpose. It's drumming in service to something. So there's a lot of design that goes into it, and there's considerations that you want to take in to create something that's going to be valuable, that's going to be appropriate, that's going to be effective, and functional for the ceremony. So we're going to look at ceremonial drumming as well. All right, and there's also some cultural considerations there that we'll touch on. So we're going to explore all of these categories. So what are they again? Drum ensemble, guided interactive drumming, drumming games, drum along, drum circle, traditional drum circle, freeform, improv drum circle, drum play, conducted drum circle or structured drum circle, or facilitated drum circle. They're all facilitated, but we'll call that structured or conducted, and ceremonial drumming. All right, you guys. So I did mention that I was going to briefly talk about some of the skills. Obviously, you need to be able to play a drum and know about drumming. This is something I did today during a session. Just being able to hold down a beat, play a beat, talk at the same time, communicate with people, so you need to be able to play the instrument well enough so that when you need to do something else in addition to playing the instrument, it doesn't throw you off. You're able to do both fully, and one doesn't suffer as a result of doing the other. Musically speaking, also you want to have some knowledge of the instruments. What are they? How are they played? How are they played properly? How should we not play them so that we're not damaging them or people aren't hurting themselves? You want to have an idea of how loud things are so you can make good choices about instrument selection, things you're going to give people to play. Also how the instruments are played so that you understand what might be easy or difficult for participants who don't have drumming experience. You want to be sensitive to some cultural considerations. So that's another reason to understand what the instruments are, where they come from, who plays them, how, what's appropriate, what might not be appropriate in terms of how they're used or how they're presented or how you talk about them. Things like that. I think, you certainly want to have a sense of time, of phrasing, being able to feel not only the pulse, but a musical phrase like 4 beats or 8 beats or 16 beat phrases. You want to be able to, like I said, talk and play at the same time, maybe sing some basic songs over the top of it. Of course, that relates to drum-alongs, especially, maybe guided interactive drumming as well. And you want to be able to support people who start singing and sing along with them. And so you want to have a good ear, be able to hear what's going on. You want to be able to play different rhythms together. So let's say you can have a pulse, and at the same time, maybe somebody else is playing a different rhythm, and you can synchronize with that and support it and match them and give, raise the level of somebody else's voice in the group. And the way you do that is to play whatever they're playing. And so you need to be able to play a lot of different things so you can do that on the spot and quick, and you can connect with people. And that, you guys, is super powerful and super fun as a facilitator and a musician. I think this is all so interesting. It's challenging. the skill set is never ending. You can always deepen your skills, and the more skills you have, both on the music side and the facilitative side, the more effective you're going to be. I think the more fun you're going to have, and I believe the more effective it's going to be for your participants, and the more fun they're going to have because everybody appreciates quality, whether that's on the music side or the people side, the interactive side. All right, so we're going to leave this talk there. I think it's long enough, but welcome to the course. And like I said, this is an ongoing course. It will cycle every 3 or 4 months. And as long as you're a patron, we're going to keep it going. We will have some live meetings, live opportunities for Q&A coming up. Check back often, check the schedule. And I'm excited for you guys. See you soon.